remember we were talking yesterday about Yelena Burainchenko. Her scarred face was on the front page of the Times. It was really arresting. She had stitches, bruises, she had green disinfectant all over her face. We can bring you more on her story and others under siege in Ukraine's second city, Kharkiv, with the Times' war correspondent Anthony Lloyd. He's now moved on. He's in Dnipro, but he has more to tell us about that. That's an image that will definitely stay, I think, with a lot of people for so many reasons, the image of Yelena. What more can you tell us about her?
So I've just spent 2.5 days in Kharkiv, which is Ukraine's second city, and it's currently not under siege, but partially surrounded by Russian forces who are shelling it and hitting the city with airstrikes. She was a sales manager. She was 55 years old, and last week, in the night, she was in her apartment where she was the sole carer for her 86-year-old mother, who's actually bedridden, when two huge, it seems either surface-to-surface missiles or bombs from an airplane dropped outside the apartment, turning it, I've been to the apartment, just into just a unbelievable scene. Most of the structure still stands, but everything inside, furniture, glass, has just been hurled into this kind of ghetto of debris. It's amazing that more people weren't killed. One person was killed in the apartment block, but the thing is, it picked up all the glass and debris and threw it into Yelena's face, blinding her in one eye, semi-blinding her in the other, and carving up her face in that way. She was then taken to hospital, where I met her among other casualties in some of the hospitals that I was travelling around in Kharkiv. Obviously, one of the most arresting things for me was that usually when someone goes through a traumatic event and taken to hospital, they're taken to a place to recover. It's kind of calm and quiet. In Kharkiv, you've got airstrikes going down, you've got jets rattling the windows and artillery. A lot of the patients were extremely frightened.
And what has happened to Yelena now then? Because obviously she can't care for her mother.
So Yelena is still in hospital. I mean, she'll require quite a lot of treatment. I mean, her injuries are severe, and she's got life-changing injuries. Her mother was carried into a wrecked. Her mother, 86 years old, can barely see herself just through age, and is bedridden. She was carried into a wrecked first floor building by survivors from the attack, and she was looked after by a neighbor, a woman who didn't know Yelena and her mother very well. They were kind of casual friends. And Yelena rang her from hospital and said, "Please don't leave my mother in the ruins." And so this neighbor, a woman called Marina in her 50s, has been looking after the old lady in the rubble ever since. She was moved last night. We managed to coordinate something with some local hospitals to get that lady taken out of Kharkiv, that elder lady, Yelena's mother, and moved to a hospital just at the outskirts of the city.
It's all unbelievable, but also believable at the same time, because it's what it's. Well, you hope that's what that you would do.
But what interests me most, sorry to cut in here, Asma, but what I'm describing essentially are disrupted familial relationships. In this case, it's the sole carer of an elderly mother who's bedridden. The sole carer then gets blinded in an airstrike. The elderly mother's left in the rubble. The promise of a neighbour who's not a really close friend, just like casual friend, acquaintance, "Look, please look after her, I beg you." So she could have escaped that neighbour. Her daughter had escaped from the city. She could have escaped, but she then becomes bonded to this promise to look after the old lady in the rubble. And details like this, which are basically a story about family and neighbours, are as much a war story for all that,
And
are being repeated
yeah.
all across Ukraine.